shit. Alright.
Man, this one is cottonmouthy.
Yeah. Got the dry ass mouth.
Dry ass mouth.
Oh my god, that's what we gotta call it.
Dry ass mouth.
Dry ass mouth.
Like, it's not just dry, it's dry ass mouth. Like, imagine chafing right between your ass cheeks. But it's really dry and it's like rubbing up against the skin
Oh,
like sandpaper.
that sounds terrible.
Oh, puts a whole other meaning to fuck my ass.
Fuck my ass.
Okay, so we'll go. Okay, I'm gonna lead it out. So, man, hey, thank you so much for everybody out there. I just moved, and Brandon came and helped me move. And
Anytime, bro.
oh, dude, it was.
You know I love you.
I know, man. It was just, it's so much. It took 4 days. And for those of us who have moved anywhere multiple times, and you just realize how much shit you accrue.
Oh, God.
So
Way
much.
too much.
You just going, how did this all fit here? I'm in my new place, it's just a little bit bigger. And, dude, there's boxes everywhere. And I'm like, how did I get all this shit in my other house? But the reason why I bring it up is moving is really super stressful. And normally I'm not a good person to be around at all.
When you're moving?
Yeah, my wife even commented, she's like, you were super calm. Thank you so much for being so calm about the move. And I was like, well, I didn't feel like I was ever a dick before. So apparently I am a complete asshole in moving, which is fine. Cause
Now you know. Yeah.
But
want to help me move?
Yeah, totally. And here's the thing, what changed? So I've been taking a CBD product called Mons Pura, and it's unlike any other CBD product that I've ever tried. I know I introduced you to them, and it's been crazy. I just feel calmer than I ever have, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Because I've tried a lot of different ones.
Bunch of CBD places.
Yeah, tons. And this product has been amazing for that. And it fits really well in today's theme of anxiety.
It does fit really well into that theme. And I would say that this Mons Pura, like even the CBD dropper, has been probably the cleanest experience that I've seen.
Yeah.
When we went to the lab and actually saw how they process, like the entire process they go through, it blew me away because they truly do care about the product.
Yeah. I think it was the coolest looking laboratory I've seen, and knowing the size of their company and where they're growing to, it's by far the best CBD. And the reason why I say that, and I've been using the tincture too, and they, after taking on a tour of the facility, testing their product, tasting it, their gummies were amazing, but the dropper has been something that has helped me actually sleep. And it's not necessarily knocking me out, which sleep is extremely important, especially when you're trying to take care of your mental health. And I just felt like I got the deepest sleep. It wasn't necessarily it knocked me out, because that's what I use THC for, but it totally just made me feel rested when I woke up. So
it helped me fall asleep, because that's something I struggle with all the time is actually falling asleep.
Yeah.
And taking this, I notice if I take it and then go to bed 20-30 minutes later, I actually fall asleep better. Yeah, that's yours.
No. I made noise.
Oh, so you're good.
I apologize.
Yeah. But yeah, today's topic of anxiety was actually, we're going to pull this up, because I'm pretty sure it was from our Patreon supporter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. That is what we're building this community for, is being able to have these discussions. Let us be your gophers, find out the information, and then give you our personal experience. That's why we created this, just for you. So who was it?
Yeah, so it's actually Nathan, our first Patreon supporter, And one of his biggest questions about cannabis would be about the paranoia. It can be hard to escape it sometimes, and sometimes you may not have access to CBD in the moment. And that's true. We actually had um, your mom had an experience
Yeah, I talked
with
about it
that.
on an episode. So my mom had consumed a little too much cannabis. She's she goes straight from, like, I think she either smokes in a little pipe or joints, but it just this time, I think she took a little too much, and she thought back to our episode, and she did not have CBD on hand, and I had always told her, you need to keep some type of CBD. I look at it like CBD, like, fuel grades, right? Like just your basic unleaded
Yeah, there's mid
E85.
grade. Well,
Yeah.
if you're in Utah, we have this garbage that they like to put in their cars.
Oh,
It's like 85, and
uh,
you have to go to premium to get 91.
yeah.
Yeah, it's garbage.
It's total garbage, and that's the way I look at it. Just like any type of CBD you can find out there. There's If it's sold in a convenience store, grab it, right? But
Yeah.
my mom didn't have that, so through all the learning that we've been able to do, we found that peppercorn, putting that in your mouth and grinding it and around your molars, because it's not a rock,
Yeah.
and the oils extracted from that one will get into the bloodstream quicker through that process of pretty much making your own peppercorn oil in your mouth, and then it just
Helps
starts.
reduce the anxiety
Yeah, my
and the
mom said
paranoia.
within a few minutes she started to feel calmer, her heart wasn't racing, and I get that paranoid feeling. We've talked about it sometimes, and even irresponsibly we've talked about it, like me driving
Yeah.
home or us driving to an event, and like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't have done those things, but we've all kind of made those different mistakes. But the paranoia, definitely, when you get that coming in there, it's so real.
You know, it was interesting. I read as well that lemon juice might be able to reduce down that anxiety as well.
Really.
Yeah, I have yet to try it, so
Well, I mean, that'd be pretty difficult for you to try, but I should try it. I should get.
but I can drink lemon juice.
No, no, no. Get really high that you feel like you need
Oh,
lemon juice.
I just was thinking anxious. Yeah,
Oh, lemon juice reduces anxiety? Wow, that'd be.
like interesting. I'll have to, because it's the same
Like, why
terpene as
is Brandon
limonene.
always puckered up? Well, he's been drinking
He's
lemon
drinking
juice all
straight
day.
lemon juice.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I'm a crazy anxious person, so I smoke weed all day long and I just drink lemon juice constantly.
Nom, nom, nom.
Yeah,
Oh, can you imagine the dry mouth with both of those?
it'd be
Anyways,
so bad.
but yeah, just like you're saying, we've got so many different options to be able to help out with that one. But we really wanted to dive in this episode to talk about some of the scientific facts of what's going on and where that's coming from and the possibilities of what could be causing that. Also, talking about mental health as well with cannabis. Anxiety is a trigger of any type of mental illness, but it could also be just that first part that leads a little bit deeper. As many people will say, like, hey, cannabis will, help out with anxiety and depression, and yes, that is true,
Mhm.
but that's why there's so many strains.
Yeah,
There's not just one.
and like it's very common when you are using cannabis that if you are prone to, well, there's a lot of factors that can create anxiety when using cannabis. One of those is too much THC. So if it's a really high dose of THC, a really high percentage, or you're just using more than you would normally, or if you don't have a normal amount, it's you're just getting into it, you might take too much for you. And that's why we always start with go low and go slow because everyone gets anxious.
Yeah, and that's something else to really keep in mind. Going from flower to vape to edible, know your dose. And so when
Mm-hmm.
you're going, I mean, the easiest ways to know your dose are going to be more or less any type of derivative from the actual flower, right? That's your concentrates, your distillates, your live rosin, everything that you can go into. Flower is going to be a completely different experience. But it's easier to dose with a synthetic compared to the flower
Y-
because
Yeah,
it's really easy, unless you're weighing it out. But most are not going to. There are some, you can the connoisseurs are gonna they've got it down to a science. And if you're using it for medicine, I would even I would even press that that would be a really smart thing to do is to start weighing it out.
yeah. Yeah, well, especially because if you are medicinally using it, you can know the dose you actually have to take. And sometimes when you are using flour, yeah, you might know, hey, I smoke a bowl, and that's what it takes for me. Or, if you're taking an edible, hey, I break it down to this much. I only actually need
Right.
7 milligrams. And there was an article I was reading last night on dosing and anxiety. And it was going into that if you have a lower dose, like 7.5 milligrams, that um, you're less likely to experience anxiety. Now, I would say that that would probably be from someone who's used before,
Hmm.
because I still feel like if you've never had anything, like any cannabis, 7 is a lot. Like, 7's a big amount of milligrams to be
Oh
jumping
yeah,
into
definitely.
if you don't want to have anxiety or, any of that. But like we were talking about before we started recording, cannabis elevates your heart rate. Like within for the first 30 minutes maybe of your experience, usually,
Right.
your heart rate is elevated. That's normal.
Yeah, we were talking about how it's the body knows when it's getting something extremely good for it, right? It almost becomes like a school of piranhas that people used to tell us like would happen in the 80s movies. Like
Yeah.
if you fell into the Amazon, right, and it's just like bubbling
You'd be
water,
dead in a second.
right, and then just bones left,
Yeah.
right, come popping up out of the water like one last ball. But that is honestly like when we're talking about when sailors way back hundreds and hundreds of years ago would get scurvy, and scurvy was a deficiency of vitamin C. And so when they figured that out, that's what they would give them, like an orange or something like that, if they were starting to show signs of scurvy, and the body would get just so rejuvenated in such a quick way. It's like when you get water and you've been thirsty,
Dehydrated.
yeah, super
Yeah.
dehydrated, and when you get that water and it goes into your system, it's like it's crazy. It's like a I don't know, like electrical impulses going all over your body saying we have what we need. And I imagine that that's what happens when you inhale it and it goes into the lungs. It's the fastest way to get THC into your system. Then it immediately from your lungs gets into your blood system and goes straight to the heart. And the heart knows this, and I mean, because everything is connected
Well, and your
through.
endocannabinoid system goes through like every
Exactly.
system.
Well, it's like a almost it's just embedded with the cells.
It's just like mushrooms.
Yeah,
They interact and like ingrain themselves and intertwine with their entire environment.
yeah. It's alive. Isn't that crazy? I mean, to think of what a stoner thought right now came to my head. Man, dude, it like even in smoke particles, bro, it goes through your whole body. It's amazing, right? I feel that way right now because it's awesome. Because it literally is. But that's what elevates your heart rate. So it's not it's not anxiety coming into you. It's the body going. We got to get this in there really fast, and that's why above all anything else. I mean, if you smoke a cigarette, if you smoke cigarettes for a while and you get that nicotine buzz, you realize after a time that nicotine buzz is so minute that you got to smoke more.
I just gotta get this out. You look like a fucking cyclops right now because of
Ah!
how you're sitting. Your one eye is behind the mic and that, and so it just looks like a cyclops one eye thing. Yeah. um, that was terrible. I totally took that whole train of thought.
No, no, no. I mean, but
Um,
no, and just thinking of it, like the heart rate is just getting into your system as super quick as it can because it knows what it is. Your heart has CB1, CB2 receptors. And when it gets into the body, it starts being able to put that's where the elevated heart rate, and from the elevated heart rate, it makes you feel like you've got to take deeper breaths.
Yeah, or
And
racing thoughts. And the thing is
right.
with cannabis, you might feel like your thoughts are racing because when you're first introduced to cannabis, sometimes time feels like it slows down.
Oh yeah.
So you're listening to how I would relate it is I would usually have music playing, and if it was a really good song, I would dissolve into that song. And in that 3 to 5 to 7 minutes, however long the
Mm-hmm.
song is, it felt like an hour because my train of thought would go through all of these different trains in that short amount of time.
Mm.
And so I was able to go through and think through so many amount of things, like so much. It felt like in such a small amount of time when I came back and realized it's only been a few minutes.
Yeah.
But it's because my mind is clear of all the other shit usually that's going on.
Correct.
All the other stuff, and I can hyper focus, is usually how I call it, on one thing. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not. And that's another thing about it is cannabis and anxiety, like part of it is the setting
Yeah. It really
and your intent.
well, and the strains too, where there's a lot of debate
Yes.
within the strain isn't really what it is, and it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that you have a specific type of plant that works really well with you, not necessarily a plant, because that's typically when you talk to people who just get into cannabis, like a guy I met last night at an event, and I'm wearing my podcasters hat, and this is all and having the podcaster hat. Um, I was joking around and I'm saying like, yeah, I'm a podcaster. It's like Johnny Appleseed. I just start going around and I flinging seeds.
Cannabis seeds,
Yeah, just throwing out
pot
cannabis
seeds.
pot seeds.
So I'm a podcaster.
I'm a podcaster. Yeah, that's all I do. And it's like, really, like, yeah, they make like six figures.
He's
Like
like, shit, I gotta quit
jo-
my job.
Johnny Appleseed of cannabis, but
He's like, is it a flick in the wrist? How do you get that job?
yeah, exactly. But he had said something that really, and I hate saying it like this because I don't want to sound pretentious, but I was concerned. I was concerned because all he said to me was, I said, "What's your favorite type of strain?" He goes, "I don't know. I just go in there saying, hey, just give me indica. Just give me an indica edibles." He's like, "Because I don't like to smoke." I was like, "No, I get that. I totally get that." And I said, "Yeah, that's kind of scary, dude. I mean, you're just taking whatever."
You
And
don't know
he's,
how your body's gonna react.
mm-mm. And he says that sometimes it's one way and sometimes it's another. And that's why a lot of, unless it's done super scientifically, which it's going to be rare, be really expensive edibles. Edibles would go about as much as actual flower.
Probably.
I mean,
Yeah.
but I think people would respect it a little bit more
To have
if
something really custom and you're like, oh, that experience would be amazing. It'd be like one of the edible meals, you
yeah.
know,
Oh
that's
yeah.
actually custom curated.
If you could custom curate really good edibles with maybe picking three different types, four, let's do an even number, four different strains, and do consistent with that one with your grow, because you could think of all of the product that you weren't going to be able to use anyways to create those edibles. And if you had that type of process, then people could feel a little bit more comfortable. And then anxiety, and that's a great segue, Brandon, to talking about edibles and anxiety, because I believe that edibles have a stronger correlation to anxiety than any other way to be able to consume cannabis.
Oh, yeah, because most people start with like a recommended dose or a gifted brownie from a friend. And
which does sound cool.
oh, I love those because they're never too much for me.
Right.
Like every time my friend comes over and brings me a brownie or He's brought me Skittles that were edibles. He's brought me all sorts of stuff, and I never ask how much is in it. I just pop it in my mouth.
Hmm.
Like if he gives me a bunch of them, I pop them in my mouth. Like because there's never been too much. No one's ever brought me an edible that's been like, you shouldn't eat this whole thing, or they've told me that, and I've already eaten the whole thing, and I'm like, how many milligrams are in that? And they're like, 50, and I'm like, do you got like three more? Like,
See, that's nuts to me, though, right? I mean, 10, 20 milligram edibles are more than enough for me. However, there are times where my body, and that's why the weird thing with edibles and anxiety is that when you purchase, and it's not to say they don't have the best intentions at all. They are creating a product that you can consume in different ways. They are trying to maximize their profit off of every single plant. And good for them because they're trying to create what we enjoy, what we love. And but at the same time it's going to be a different experience every single time because it's not a consistent thing. So know that when and if you do have that horrible instance where you get this monster anxiety, like I've talked about my brother multiple times, like I can't even bring up edibles with him. He's like, nope, he doesn't even want to talk about it. My brother served 2 tours in Iraq, once in Ramadi, 1 year in Ramadi, and the other one in Baghdad. My brother saw some shit,
and
and
he's afraid of edibles.
he's afraid of
Damn,
edibles, dude.
that tells you guys don't fuck with
Oh
edibles.
yeah, I mean, no, I mean, definitely. Well, and again, it's low and slow. Like,
It is.
eat half, eat a quarter. It makes it feel like you're not getting a true value, but holy shit, if you could take a whole bunch of edibles and turn them into quarters, and you eat 1 quarter, and it feels amazing. Holy shit, that's awesome. That's like
Or even the benefits of microdosing at 1 milligram. And
exactly.
it can read, so it goes back to that dosing of like if you have a very um uh, cannabis is called a, hang on, let me look it up. Because it's actually, there's a specific term for it. And um let's see.
Well, while you're looking that up,
Yeah.
talking about the anxiety. So the anxiety starts to peak out with edibles, and the reason why it turns into what was it?
Sorry, what was the question?
What does the edible turn into?
11 hydroxy THC when it's broken down in your stomach or your liver. And
Which is 4 times stronger than
then delta 9
right.
THC, which
So
is the
whatever you
standard.
inhale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is why uh, the bigger reason why that I am always a very big proponent of is going with flour first because flour is something you can control. You really can control it. Just like you can weigh it out or just do little, like a little hit, and then that's it. Right? You're getting small micro doses of THC with each hit if you do little ones. And then you could slowly work your way up from there while you build up that understanding, not tolerance. I think that's a word that we throw around a lot within the cannabis community is tolerance, but it's not necessarily a tolerance. It's just what you're.
I think your body's accustomed,
Yeah,
to cannabinoids that
right.
are like naturally plant occurring.
And I think the reason why it's like like the CBD we tried, right? We've tried a lot of other CBD products. This one, you feel it pretty quickly.
Okay, so it's going back to the scurvy. If your body's missing or your endocannabinoid system has a deficiency, if you're introducing cannabinoids into your system, you're going to feel different.
Yeah, but after a while though, it was like Mark, the founder of Mons Pura.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with him, and he had even said, I mean, he's so adamant about it. I mean, it's changed him. I mean, he put all of his money into it.
Yeah, and he's in like his 70s.
Yeah, and he put all of his money into it, and he wasn't poor. This is all self funded, and
Yeah, it's a family run, family owned business.
yeah,
It's pretty cool.
it is super
They're
cool.
good
But
people.
he said something really really strong about it. He's like, this isn't a cure all. This isn't a miracle
Mm-hmm.
cure. He's like, but he's like, the thing is, my life's been better. Like, I feel better all the time. He goes, I know if I stop taking it, yeah, more likely things will return to normal. And thinking of CBD as this almost protective shell over everything within our body. Like, I know when I don't have some.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
know I
me
don't.
too.
And that goes within. So I went through my move, started getting really bad anxiety. I noticed that I didn't do two different things. One, I didn't have time to smoke a bowl or hit my pen,
Oh man.
and two, I didn't take any CBD. So I I took some of the product over there. They have a gummy,
Yeah.
and they taste
They're like the only gummies that I have ever seen anywhere that are not water based.
yeah.
They're
This
MCT oil based and they are amazing in comparison to, and they don't taste like crazy
they don't t-
flowery hemp. Like,
or just laden with sugar,
yeah.
right? This they look like really fresh made gummy bears. They're really jiggly, and I give them to my kids too. I do half of the dose on the gummy. I cut them in half, and even on my blade, it's just oil.
Oh, yeah.
It's super crazy. It's not even sticky.
Oh, well. So I can't find what it is, the actual term for it, but it's basically this medical term for when you have a low dose of something, it has like a effect of reducing anxiety and depression. But in a high dose, it has the opposite effects. And so that's what cannabis has is they say that in super low doses, you're fine, it reduces anxiety. Or for those who are, more accustomed to it, they can have a regular dose and still brings down anxiety. But also, um, it was going into that your age can actually play a factor in this
Oh, absolutely.
because as you get older, the amount of receptors go down. And so it can take less THC for you to get the same experience.
Well, thinking of people who have heart conditions, right, or blood pressure conditions, like you really need to go low and slow with that. Each experience has to be different
Mm-hmm.
and slowly brought up. That's where I think everybody gets so upset and feeling like anxiety is just overwhelming them by getting into THC and saying, I can't touch it again. It's because they go way too fast.
Yeah. And it's because everyone around them usually is taking hits, like a bunch of them.
Yeah,
And it should be okay to normalize going, just take your dose. Maybe that's
truly.
the tiniest puff. Maybe it's like the biggest puff. Maybe it's, whatever it is.
Like when we got together on your birthday, your girlfriend, she took a little tinny hits and that was it. She was like, that's it. That's all I need.
Yeah, but that's how she does it because I've always been a proponent of doing your own dose because I've had friends that push, no, keep smoking, keep, have some more. And then I have other friends that because of that, they have really bad experiences with cannabis.
Oh, totally.
And instead of them having a really good experience, it kills it for them. And I'm like, you're just pushing them through this. They could actually reduce like anxiety, stress, depression, all of this stuff, help with these things if you could just let them do it properly.
I think the purpose of having people together is not just to get, you know, like back in the day, getting, let's go get a bunch of beers or, let's find somebody that can get us a keg. Let's just get fucked up.
Yeah.
It's not about doing that with cannabis. It really shouldn't be that way. When somebody says, "Hey man, you want to get together and we can sesh," usually means, "Hey, we want to get together. Let's smoke a couple bowls and let's just have fun conversations, or just enjoy the company of others." Like no one's ever like, "Bro, what do you want to do? Let's smoke a bowl and let's go pick a fight with people."
But
That's
I'll
what you
be
do at the
like,
bar,
bro, let's smoke a bowl and then go like longboard the canyon.
or let's go play some frisbee golf,
Yeah. Or
right?
like wander around in the mountains or go do something because
Oh,
I
you
love doing
sound like
that kind of
such a
stuff.
hippie.
I know. It's terrible, but
So
great at the
am
same time.
Oh, but that's a thing too. That's a misnomer within the anxiety. Now, neither one of us are medical experts, but at the same time, we are subject matter experts in thinking about what are the things that we have done, what have we felt, and always one, if the anxiety starts coming up with any of the THC that you're doing, it could be one, the strain, two, the delivery method, right? So go backwards from what you think typically. Don't do edible, vape, and then flower. Try flower first. There's different things that you could be able to, make the experience a little better, like getting an ice catcher, with
Yeah. Or
those little,
vaporizer
yeah,
or
or vaporizer.
anything else. Like there's a bunch of ways you can partake flower
Totally.
without having to smoke it.
And then from there, go into carts because now you have a better understanding. We talked about carts. There's this weird, like, I would even say, like,
A
Elon
shelf.
Musk nanotechnology that doesn't allow, it's like a governor on your car.
Yeah,
It's this,
that's what it is. Oh, it's the limiter.
yes, the
Oh, those are
limiter, the
terrible.
little sons of
You're like
bitches.
flooring it on the
Why
freeway.
is it not
And
going
you're like,
faster?
I can't go past like 120 in this stupid
But
car.
it says 180.
Yeah.
Lion sex shit. But it's exactly that. With a cart, and maybe it's just because we have been such consistent consumers of it that's why it is we
I've
hit a
always
ceiling.
felt that way with carts
I
though,
have too.
even
With
from the start, but they are a higher percentage of THC. So that is also something to be aware of with anxiety is starting with a cart, unless you get like a 3 to 1, which you can get like 3 parts CBD, one THC
there you
in a
go.
cart sometimes.
Being more economical about it because and economically, I'm not saying like money wise, like what is the dosage, and you need elements of CBD in there if you are prone to anxiety, right? And it that you brought up a great point. It's the percentage isn't really as important as everybody says it is. That's like the people who go here in Utah for a really long time. What was the percentage for beer? Like 2.5,
Oh, 3.5 or
3.
4.2 by weight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they were.
it was like people get upset.
Oh, hang on, we got the dumpster. Oh yeah.
Fuck this garbage can.
That's exactly what he
That's
was
what it
doing.
sounds like. Yeah, we got the garbage man outside. He's like, fuck these garbage cans. Fucking. Which,
Fucking garbage cans.
that's what they need to do with shitty jobs, dude. Like, I
But
mean,
you
it's.
get high,
No, well, yeah. But pay those guys really well.
right? Yeah, pay the really shitty people or shitty jobs.
Because right now, what are. I mean, and to say, be fair, what would I consider a shitty job? Anything with hard manual labor or a massive repetitiveness.
Yeah, like working in a warehouse or like those
Being on an assembly line.
yeah, that
Have you ever done that?
oh god, yeah. For a really tiny bit. Um I think I wasn't working for somewhere and Curtis like we worked at not Granny B's cookies, but some
Oh,
cookie
down there
place
on
for like
in Orem. Yeah, yeah.
for like a day or two.
It fucking
And
sucked.
then I was like, nope, fuck that. I can't do that.
But that's the thing, dude. Those jobs would be awesome if they were had with. Oh, what is this? Okay. What was I talking about?
Uh Anxiety.
Yeah, no. Where were we at? Um, Let me think. Don't worry about it. We'll get right into it. So going back to that with carts, you're gonna hit a ceiling over there, and then the last is edibles. Edibles is, and it might sound stupid to some people hearing this, but just hear me out on it. Edibles are for more advanced consumers. I would say because they know their endocannabinoid system a little bit better because they know how they feel on it. But when it's 4 times stronger than any other type of that processes through your body and it lasts longer, anywhere from like what 2 hours to 6 hours. I've had it going almost like 8 hours on one edible.
Yeah, they can last for a really long time. And I would. they are for more advanced users, I think sometimes, but at the same time, um, not every person wants to inhale. I know when I got my grandma to use cannabis for like a year and a half.
Right, but you dosed them.
I know. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is potentially if you can find your dose and start slow, an edible is just fine too. It's it's the person and the situation, I think, but it's just not everyone has me dosing their edibles.
Well, and that's another point I was just about to make, and it's going to retract from what I said. Okay, so edibles, I would think commercial edibles are more for an advanced user because how many times have we heard somebody getting an edible from some dispo and one puts them on the moon
Yeah.
and they don't feel good and they're sick and they're throwing up, they got the spins. Like, yeah, obviously it was really sensitive, but they could have another piece in that bag that would do nothing to them
Yeah.
because it's improperly dosed. So that's what I'm going to follow with is that get it. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos on how to make edibles on YouTube. Um, Maybe that's something that we do on our Patreon.
We also have an edibles episode where we talk about and teach you how to make edibles.
Yeah,
But we will throw up videos on our Patreon that you can go watch and learn
yeah,
how to make some edibles.
that would be cool. We'll cut something together and put it out there. So pay attention to that in the future. But it definitely it's I would say that get into learning, how to be able to make your own edibles to be able to reduce this anxiety because the anxiety is coming from a system that is overloaded, and that's where a lot of anxiety comes from. And so when using THC products, you got to find the right strain
Yeah.
that's just going to help you.
But at the end of the day, if you are stuck in that, you do have to sometimes write it out. And at that moment, what you do is you find a better setting.
Yeah,
You find music you like, you go lay down, you find a place that you're comfortable in, and you sit there.
yeah,
Because if you're not anxious sometimes, and it happens, when you use cannabis sometimes, you focus on something small. Maybe it's nothing, but in your mind it becomes something.
yeah.
Maybe someone looked at you and you thought they looked at you funny, but really
Damn, that person's
they
got some
weren't even
issues.
focusing on it. But it happens. Like everyone has, they're like, oh, I felt weird because I got this weird vibe from you, and they're like, no, I was just high as shit. Like I
Yeah,
was
right.
fine. They're like, oh, okay. Like I just wanted to make sure we're okay. Like, yeah, no, it's totally fine. Don't even worry about
Yeah,
it.
that's that paranoia.
Yeah, I can't. When I was hosting church, I can't tell you how many people that I would meet that would come here and they're like, "Hey, sorry for not saying anything for the last 5 minutes." And I was like, "Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Everyone in this room has been there, and
yeah,
if they haven't, they're probably there right now.
yeah.
So like,
It's
you are
okay.
in good company. Everyone understands."
Oh, exactly.
And there's times that you're like, I had to chase that train of thought. And you go down a rabbit hole, and maybe it's something in your life that just clicked at that moment. And because cannabis cleared out all the other stuff in there, all the cobwebs, you follow this thought, this thing that you're like, oh, I've been thinking about this for the longest time. And that happens. And then you come back into the room and you're like, oh, man, I felt like I was in a whole nother reality for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever.
Yeah,
But everyone has that.
that's the other part too is to feel comfortable with your cannabis use, meaning
Mm.
just take it easy. If you're not really comfortable, you haven't been consuming for very long, start just like we always say low and slow, but more than that one is just take your time. Have a couple of puffs, have a small portion of your edible.
One thing that I actually read that thinking about makes a lot more sense is in the setting it went into as much as like, are you smoking where your spouse knows? Does your spouse know about your use, or your partner, or your roommate, or your parents? Like, or you're worried about the legality of it and being arrested. Like, there's so many things that come with cannabis use that so many people worry about. That it's like, oh, I can't just go use this. I'm having to think about all of these other things. Jesus Christ, man.
Fucking garbage, man.
Right? God damn. But that
Oh, sorry.
alone, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense because how many people do we know that have been like, my partner didn't know, my spouse didn't
Oh,
know.
dude, I hid it from my wife for months.
Oh, see, the nice thing is I was divorced, and
Oh
I
yeah,
was I was using cannabis and using it to a point that I'm like, this is part of who I am.
yeah. No, for
So my
me,
girlfriend, it was like, take it or leave it, but this is me.
exactly. And I remember she had a problem with it at first, and you're like, hey, fucking, there's the door if you don't want to be a part. And that's the lucky thing that I had is that when I did open up to my wife, and Brandon, you are right. Be open with your significant other if that's going to be an issue. And you know, along those same lines, some of it may be where you have had a firm stance that cannabis is bad, and then later on learn more about it, changed your mind, and you have children. I have now talked to, well, I haven't talked to my 6-year-old because he'd be like, I don't know what that is, but I've talked to my 10-year-old, my 13-year-olds, and my 15-year-old. And I was just like, if you see me out here and I've got something, you've seen smoke come out, I want to teach you about cannabis and why I take it and when I take it and how it affects me. And it's opened their minds up to being able to use CBD products. I'm not okay with THC unless it's under like somebody who knows, a medical professional that knows about those things,
Hmm.
about cannabis. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to be, yeah, cool. Let's do that. Like, they wanted to give my kid THC. I don't trust myself enough to give them THC.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know enough.
I don't. And there's not enough studies. And, it's so early into the actual studies, the medicinal studies.
But CBD, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I give one of my sons a dropper with Mons Pura, half a dose every morning. And then the other one likes half of a gummy every morning. That's it. That's all I give them. And they're super chill. That's why I've loved that stuff. It's been awesome, and it's, I don't know. When you think about making sure that the right vitamins are in your system, right? T, H, and C,
Yeah, I always gotta get my vitamins.
and C, B, and D, right? So
Hmm.
if you can get those, but honestly, it's not just to make you feel good. To be in a medical sense, it's a prophylactic. It's a protectant, especially from anti-inflammatory issues. That's THC and CBD. Pain relief, anxiety is pain,
Yeah.
and if you can get something that cannabis related that is going to be able to help you with that, there's a lot of options. If you're getting stressed out with cannabis, it's your dosing,
Or
and
the strain.
or the strain, or not having elements next to you like really good CBD.
Yeah, so, next time you do, if you're prone to getting anxious, get a better setting.
Yep.
Try to have some CBD or black peppercorns, or try out lemon juice and let us know if that
Yeah, I
helps.
would really like to hear about people using lemon juice
Yeah, maybe we'll throw that on Patreon too. We'll get really high one day.
and then test it.
Yeah, we'll test different things because we have
Oh.
CBD too. So we'll just, yeah,
That would be all right. Let's do that. We're gonna get some. It's gonna be easier to smoke me out.
yeah.
We'll use some Sleepy Joe.
Oh, yeah, I still have
Oh,
some.
I do too. I got a little bit of it
All
left.
right.
Okay, so also, guys, I know we've talked about Mons Pure a lot on this episode, but you're gonna be hearing a lot about it because we.
Man, they're just like running up and down the street today.
All right, I'm gonna wait. That fucker.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Like, why
That's
he's just,
probably the recycling one right after it.
oh, yeah, I was like, we've already had two, but it's probably going that way again. It's like down in here.
I know,
It's a
dude.
fucking
It's like a
weird
frog.
noise.
So I know we've been talking a lot about Mons Pura, and the reason why we love it. We have loved the product. It's here in Utah, family owned. We love them so much. We reached out and we said, "Hey, is there any way that we can be able to give our listeners this?" So they actually created a website, and that'll be in the link down there below. Go check this product out. We love it. We're totally into it. Um,
Oh, it's made such a difference.
Super huge. There's so many other products. We'll talk about those too. Probably pretty much every episode. Just we just love it because what it's doing for us.
Yeah, guys. And as always, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and make sure to take the dog out before you go to bed because you don't want to find puddles or a pile of shit in the morning. Take care.